It starts in a high-end delivery room. A woman, about to give birth, is calmly reading a magazine. She loses her patience and shouts at the nurses to get the baby out, without looking up from her magazine. Soon, a baby's cry is heard. A staff member runs to tell the grandfather the news. Then, everyone congratulates Lu, who thanks his guests for being kind. He asks a maid where Shuchen is. The maid says the young master is on Earth for business. The baby's grandfather gets angry, calling his son useless for not being there. Suddenly, a strange scream comes from the delivery room, surprising everyone. Worried, Lu stands up and asks what is happening. Inside the room, the mother is stunned by a bright light in front of her. When the grandfather and his men walk in, they freeze. The light came from the newborn baby, who was covered in yellow lightning and seemed to be enjoying it. The baby thinks to himself that no one would expect a common person to be reborn into this family and awaken a divine power. A screen appears, telling him that his lightning power has been activated. The grandfather is shocked because his grandson was born with a power that he could never get. He drops his cane and yells that his grandson has a rare, natural gift. The grandfather picks up the baby and celebrates, announcing that the Lu family finally has a true genius. But the baby thinks that he will use this new life to take everything from the family and make sure his father is never reborn. The maids comment that the young master is already smiling and didn't cry, which they see as a sign of a great future. The grandfather promises to use all the family's resources to raise the boy. The newborn, who is our main character, thinks about how the past 6 months have felt like a dream since that man killed him. 1 month after he was reincarnated, his mother drank a special medicine given to her by a maid. After she drank it, a strong golden light glowed from her body. As an embryo, he gained an ability to grow faster and reached D-level power. He thinks about how ordinary people can never be as strong as the powerful families, and how he has already reached a level that others risk their lives for. Our main character wonders what this new ability is, since there are no records of accelerated growth. 2 months later, he was almost absorbed by the mother's original embryo, but was rewarded instead. Using his fast growth, he absorbed the original embryo and gained its natural lightning power. He is excited to have a lightning ability, which is one of the rarest kinds. The main character plans to use the family's best resources to grow even stronger. 3 months later, his lightning power had already reached the next stage. In his mother's bedroom, high heels and women's underwear are scattered on the floor. On the bed, 2 pairs of feet are tangled together. We see the woman with a blonde man while the baby is still inside her. The man asks if she's scared, but she says her marriage is only for political reasons. The unborn baby hears the man question if he is the father, while his mother just asks for more. The main character gets annoyed because their actions are slowing down the rate at which he can absorb energy, so he releases a large amount of energy all at once. His mother complains that it burned her from the inside. At 6 months, his power reached its peak at D level, and he now understands his mother's body. A handsome man is watching her. He looks at her pregnant belly and wonders when the baby will finally be born. Inside the womb, the main character opens his eyes and stares at his father with hatred. He sees the man's face and calls him a mutt. In a flashback, we see the main character in his past life being warned about dangerous beasts. One of his hurt friends tells him to escape as fast as he can. His friend is defeated and screams for help, but the young man just watches. Then, his friend is eaten by a monster while the young man does nothing. With a mean smile, the traitor tells his men to feed the beast. He smirks as he watches his victim about to be defeated. At that moment, the main character sees a giant spike flying toward him. His former friend stabs him with a large branch, lifting him into the air. The main character looks at the wound in his chest, shocked that he was betrayed. The man who betrayed him laughs wildly. He makes fun of him, saying this is what happens when weak people try to be strong. As he is thrown, the young man yells that he was tricked so the beasts could be fed. As he dies, his only thought is of his younger sisters. He remembers saying goodbye to one of them and promising to come home soon. In another memory, his past self grabs a weapon and prepares to leave for a mission. The door closes and 3 little girls are left alone, waiting for him. They look at the moon through a window and wonder when their big brother will be back. Back in the present, the unborn baby fills with anger and vows to get revenge on the man who took him from his sisters. With his power, the baby prepares to punch his father from inside the womb. He then lands a strong punch right on the traitor's face, taking him by surprise. The man is sent flying from the force of the punch, and the mother is shocked by the kick she felt. The baby's father falls to the ground in pain, not knowing what hit him. The woman complains that the baby is already causing trouble before he is even born. The grandfather then tells a nurse to check on what is happening in the room. The nurse explains that the young master's talent is so great that he is developing much faster. She then announces with a startled voice that the baby is coming now and the mother is going into labor. The baby thinks about how his power was stuck at D level in his past life, but now he is close to getting much stronger. The mother screams in pain and tells everyone to call the best delivery team immediately. 1 month later, the Liu family throws a big party to celebrate. Many important families from the area arrive with gifts for the newborn. At the party, the grandfather watches a violin player with a maid beside him. Meanwhile, the 1-month-old main character rests quietly in a maid's arms. A guest congratulates the grandfather on his new grandson, but he seems to be thinking about something else. Another guest congratulates the baby's father, while the baby just stares at the man who killed him in his past life. He gets very angry when he sees the enemy who took him away from his sisters and promises to get revenge right away. He remembers his younger sisters being excited about a giant birthday cake. In his past life, he was on the phone with brother Chen, who was complaining that he was late for a mission. The young man says he is sorry, and the traitor thinks to himself that he only hired him because he heard he was desperate for money. The man tells him to be smart, and the young man thanks him for the job. His sisters waited to eat a small piece of cake on the table. The older brother says goodbye to one of them, promising that he had a job but would be back soon. Then, he grabs his weapon from a bag and gets ready to leave the house. The door closes, and the 3 little girls are left alone, waiting for him to come back. From the window, they watch the moon and wait for their brother. Elsewhere, a man walks toward a glowing portal in a dark forest. He is smoking a cigarette and is the same man who was congratulating young Master G at the party. Young Master G seems to be the leader of this dangerous mission. With his men beside him, he asks how the mission is going. The man tells him that they have been inside for a while, and the beasts should be fed by now. Young Master G praises old Chen, saying he was raised well and works quickly. He then turns to a woman with him and says they only came for her. But the woman scoffs, saying he is just another person from the G family trying to become more powerful. After that, the group of traitors walks toward the portal to leave the empty place. At the same time, one of our hero's friends warns him about a strong beast nearby. The young master is surprised that someone is still alive, since he needs more food for his medicine. Old Chen says he doesn't know how that is possible, because they were all just D-level soldiers. Suddenly, a loud noise makes everyone look in the same direction. The group's leader looks at the situation with a serious face. Soon, they see that one of the beasts has a new wound on its leg. The monster then stares at our hero, who is standing alone in the middle of the empty place. Even though he is tired and hurt, the young man stands strong, ready for one last fight. At that moment, one of the traitors slowly walks toward him. Young Master G demands to know where that thing came from and how it hurt his beast. When he sees the survivor, young Master G is surprised and calls him Ye Chen. The young man turns and calls out to brother Chen, not understanding what is happening. Ye Chen's friend asks if he brought help while the enemies run away. Back in the present, the baby promises to get his revenge right then. He reaches his arms out and makes baby sounds at the traitor, who watches him closely. The man is confused and stutters, not sure what the baby wants. The boy's father says his son wants to be held and that it is a great honor. With that, he picks up the baby and thanks him, while the baby pretends to cry. As soon as the man holds him, the baby starts to release a yellow energy. He then uses his lightning power to give his enemy a very bad shock. The traitor screams in pain as electricity runs through his whole body. From the shock, he drops the baby, who falls hard on the floor. The women at the party are surprised and look at the noise. The musicians also stop playing, shocked by the chaos. The boy's grandfather watches everything with a serious look. The boy's parents are shocked by what just happened. Seeing his grandson on the floor, the old man knows he made a mistake. The baby starts crying loudly to fool everyone. The traitor panics and starts to sweat, scared of what might happen. Furious, the grandfather yells at the man for daring to drop the Liu family's treasure. The man throws himself on the floor, saying it wasn't his fault and that the baby did it on his own. But the baby's father doesn't believe him and kicks him hard, calling him a dog. The kick is so strong that the man flies across the room and lands hard on the mansion floor. He bows and begs for his master's forgiveness. He swears he would never hurt the boy and offers his treasures to heal him. The little one's father seems to enjoy the situation and gives a mocking smile. The master then orders his men to drag the man outside and beat him. The traitor thanks him for the punishment as a maid picks the baby up. In the woman's arms, the little main character gives a small, evil smile. With a bruised forehead, the enemy stares, confused about what just happened. The baby continues to scream and cry loudly to keep up his act. The old traitor is shocked again that the baby started crying. The grandfather tells the maid to take the young master inside and check if he was hurt. He scolds his son, saying that because of the family's status, they don't need useless people around. With a snort, the head of the family turns and leaves the party, angry about the whole mess. The boy's father gets angry at the old man's words and squeezes the glass in his hand. He shatters the glass with his bare hands. The host turns and kicks the traitor hard in the face. Right after, he kicks him again and orders him to be dragged outside and fed to the dogs. The guards grab him as he begs for mercy, but no one listens. The host tells the guests to continue the party, and the baby thinks about how to get more power. The doctor checks the little one and says he has a strong body and is perfectly fine. The grandfather laughs, happy that his grandson was not harmed and is in great health. But the most important thing for the boy now is to find his 3 sisters. He needs to grow up fast, so he can move around and get that woman's energy. The baby starts crying for milk and the doctor. The grandfather then orders them to call his daughter-in-law to feed the baby and take more spiritual medicine. The boy's mother complains that she just fed him and is already very tired. The family head says she must work hard for the family's future and for her son. The woman takes off her coat and prepares to feed the baby one more time, against her will. The little one opens his mouth and cries as he waits for his mother. The mother picks him up and stares at him with her red eyes. She starts to feed him and complains that he is sucking way too hard. Seeing that his daughter-in-law is getting weak, the grandfather orders them to bring her a special soup. Soon after, we see the baby taking a bath with his mother in a hot spring. The woman complains that he has been feeding for a long time and asks if she owes him something from a past life. 3 months later, the baby is already crawling around the house, and his power has reached the next level. In his past life, it took him a year to get this strong. Back then, he went on many dangerous missions and was hurt many times. He has now gone from sea level to the next stage in just 3 months by drinking milk. During a family dinner, the little main character crawls towards the main table. The grandfather gets angry, complaining that an idiot wasn't watching the young master. The maid apologizes, saying the boy crawls so fast she can't keep up. The baby's father jokes that his son must want milk again, and the mother looks exhausted. She complains that the boy has been attached to her for 3 months and she needs a break. But the little one thinks he can't waste time and needs to keep getting stronger. To everyone's surprise, the baby stands up on his own for the first time. The grandfather and the butler are completely shocked by what they see. The boy starts walking towards his mother, who watches him, startled. The little one jumps on her, and the mother screams for him to let her eat in peace. The maid is amazed and points out that the young master is standing and walking by himself. The butler comments that the boy is special and is developing very quickly. The grandfather is happy to see his grandson can already stand and watches him with pride. He then says that by family rules, it is time to choose a personal servant for the boy. In a dark room, the grandfather asks about the results, and a guard says only 2 are left. In his mother's arms, the main character is taken to an arena for the test. He watches everything closely when he is shocked to recognize one of the candidates. In a cell, a little girl with white hair is in a defensive pose and looks scared. On the other side, a blonde girl runs forward, yelling to attack and beat her opponent. Shocked, the baby wonders what she is doing there, and his body begins to glow brightly. He then uses his lightning power to zap one of the fighting girls. The blonde girl is sent flying and lands hard on the ground, knocked out. The white-haired girl takes the chance to jump on a piece of bread. Without thinking, the girl grabs the bread and eats it quickly in the middle of the cell. The mother's hair is standing on end. The main character panics, hoping no one saw anything strange. The grandfather laughs and says his grandson has more fighting spirit than his own father. The boy thinks that being a kid is helpful because adults always make excuses for him. The grandfather decides the little girl will be the servant and orders her to be washed and taught manners. The little girl keeps eating hungrily, not caring about anything else. The baby in the crib seems very happy and smiles at his new servant. Meanwhile, the butler explains that she is a death servant and must protect the young master. The little white-haired girl just nods, accepting her new life. He also says she must follow the master and practice martial arts while he sleeps. With that, the little maid goes to the baby's room to start her new job. When she arrives, the boy calls to her and points to himself with a big smile. But the girl pulls out a knife, and her face fills with hate. The baby panics and tries to speak, but can't. She says she will kill him to avenge her older brother. The girl raises the knife and prepares to attack the baby in his crib. The servant lunges with the knife, ready to hit her target. But the boy dodges the attack with amazing speed and jumps out of the crib. He lands on the floor, leaving a glowing shape of himself behind, which surprises the girl. Then the baby appears next to her, leaving her shocked and speechless. Suddenly, the girl starts to glow with a green light as she gets ready to fight. The main character is shocked to see that she has a wind power. She attacks him with her wind power, but the baby uses his lightning to defend himself. The two powers crash, lighting up the whole room with bright colors. He thinks that using both his powers at once is too much for his baby body. He has a great idea to solve the problem. The main character points and uses a small amount of his thunder power. A small lightning spear hits the girl. The shock paralyzes her for a moment, and she falls to the floor, unable to move. The little one seems relieved but is very tired. Lying on the floor, the servant can still feel the electricity in her body. He walks over carefully and touches the sharp blade. The little one cuts his finger on purpose, and a drop of blood appears. He then uses his blood to write a message on the floor for her. He thinks it's a good thing he is smart and thought of this plan to communicate. After reading the message, the girl understands, and the baby opens his arms for a hug. But the girl attacks him again, and the baby remembers she can't read. He dodges the attack and worries, because if someone sees her trying to attack him, she will be in trouble. Meanwhile, the traitor walks through the mansion holding a wooden box. In a flashback, the boy's father says that he is only alive because he is still useful. Lying on the floor, the man thanks the young master for his mercy and promises to work harder. The master says the grandfather is angry and that he must find a way to please the baby. The man thinks that he sold everything he owned to buy a rare item at an auction. Suddenly, he hears the little master's voice and wonders what is happening in the room. With that, he opens the door and walks in, calling for the heir of the Liu family. When he enters, he sees the two of them chasing each other around the room. Seeing a chance, the baby glares at the man with a dark look and a plan. The traitor is very confused and doesn't understand what is happening. Then the boy grabs the servant's hand and turns the knife. He uses his lightning power to give the white-haired girl a small shock on her forehead. She falls to the floor, and the baby catches the knife, finishing his plan. Without stopping, the baby stabs himself in the shoulder, and the knife gets covered in blood. The traitor is completely shocked by the scene and screams, not believing what he is seeing. Next, the boy throws the bloody knife toward the man watching him. The poor guy catches the weapon and freezes in fear, not knowing what to do. In his shock, he drops the box he was holding. Then the little main character takes a deep breath, getting ready for his big act. Soon after, he starts crying loudly on top of the fainted girl on the rug. The man holds the bloody knife, completely desperate. Hearing the noise, the grandfather and the others come running to see what happened. The grandfather and his son stare at the scene with serious faces. The little one keeps crying and leans on the servant to make it look like he protected her. Furious, the grandfather points at the traitor and accuses him of trying to attack his grandson. The man throws the knife on the floor and tries to defend himself, saying he didn't do it. But the father doesn't believe him and punches him for hurting his son. Desperately, he explains that the girl attacked the baby and he defended himself. The baby continues his crying act while the traitor screams with a bloody nose. He swears to the grandfather that he is telling the truth, but no one seems to believe his story. The boy's father hits him with another punch and angrily asks where the gift is. Desperate, the man looks for the gift he dropped on the floor. The grandfather praises the little girl for protecting his son and orders her to be taken to rest. The grandfather places his hand on the young master's shoulder, who gets tense. The grandfather glares at him, his red eyes glowing with anger. He says he taught his son how to raise dogs, but he almost lost the Liu family's hope. With that, the group leaves the room, leaving the traitor kneeling on the floor, terrified. The man starts to sweat and tremble with fear of what might happen to him. Suddenly, the baby's father turns and glares at him with a look full of hate. He kicks him hard and says he gave him a chance, but he tried to hurt him anyway. The man tries to explain, but the master orders him to be dragged out and fed to the dogs. Seeing his plan work, the little main character is finally relieved. With a wounded shoulder, he looks at the unconscious girl on the floor with worry. Just then, the butler comes over and says he needs to take the servant for medical care right away. But the baby panics when he remembers he wrote a message on the floor, right underneath her. So, the boy lies on top of the girl and shakes his head to stop the man from taking her. The butler then picks up the little master, lifting him off the girl. The butler places him back in the crib while the boy looks very upset. Seeing that the man is about to pick up the servant, he wonders if he should knock him out with an electric shock. Suddenly, he gets an idea and looks towards the maid with a new plan. The butler picks up the little girl, and a pool of blood is left on the bedroom floor. The main character is shocked to see that the servant is also really hurt. Seeing the blood on the girl's clothes, the butler is also very surprised. The baby is confused and doesn't understand how she got hurt. After that, the butler takes her outside and orders the young master's room to be cleaned. Alone in the crib, the boy is relieved but still wonders what is going on. He decides to put it aside for now, as he has more important things to do. He jumps out of the crib, ready for his next plan. In a massage room, a maid prepares a special oil for his mother. The mother then gets a relaxing back massage from one of the maids. She seems very relaxed, enjoying a rare, peaceful moment. But the quiet ends when the baby calls for milk, startling her. He crawls over to her, and the mother complains that he is here again with his big appetite. The boy starts to feed, and his mother complains, asking how long he is going to keep feeding this time. But he knows he needs to grow faster so he can talk and explain everything to his servant.